Kenya is boycotting the start of an International Court of Justice hearing to decide its maritime border with Somalia. The neighbours both lay claim to energy resources off their coast. Somalia first asked the International Court of Justice to rule on their maritime border in 2014. The dispute is over a triangle-shaped area of about 100,000 square kilometres. Somalia argues its maritime boundary should run toward the southeast to match the direction of its land border. But Kenya says the border should take a roughly 45-degree turn at the shoreline. The area is believed to be rich in oil and gas and also considered one of East Africa's richest fishing grounds. Antonios Tzanakopoulos is an associate professor of international law at the University of Oxford. He has taken part in cases before the ICJ and joins us now from London. Thank you for your time. What does it mean that Kenya is boycotting the hearing? What will happen now? Will it go ahead anyway?
Well, it has actually gone ahead. The hearing, the first day of the hearings just finished maybe about an hour ago with Somalia presenting its case. It is actually going ahead. So non-appearance before the International Court of Justice does happen on occasion, but it does not affect the power of the court to hear the case, nor does it affect the power of the court to issue a binding judgment.
But surely that puts Kenya at a disadvantage, right, if it's not in court?
Yes, it certainly does, but it is a disadvantage of its own making in a way. I mean, the court is still obligated to take into consideration all potential positions that Kenya might take. It is also well aware of the argument that Kenya is making, and we'll have to consider the merits on the basis of the submissions of Somalia and decide on the basis of international law. So it will still have to be a decision that is based on what the law provides, just without the benefit of Kenya's argument.
Let's talk about the argument. I mean, everything you read about this, it says it all comes down to whether Somalia's border shoots straight out from the direction that it hits the land, or if it goes to a 45-degree angle. What does the ICJ have to go off then? I mean, it seems simply to be a difference of almost just a difference of opinion.
Well, you're right, but there are provisions in the law about how maritime boundaries are to be delimited. So, for example, when it comes, there are different zones. Here, the two states are asking for a single maritime boundary, which means all zones should have one boundary. Roughly, let's put it this way. Roughly, what Somalia is saying is that the law provides for an equidistant line from the two shores, so basically equal distance from both shores, for the territorial sea, and that should be projected further for the other zones, and so it should follow the course of the land boundary, whereas Kenya is basically saying, look, that might have been the initial position, but in our case, we believe it runs parallel to the latitude, so that 45-degree angle which you mentioned, and that has been our position since 1979, and it has been respected by Somalia since 1979 until 2014, so for a good 35 years, before Somalia changed its mind and said, well, the boundary should run some other course. So Kenya's argument roughly could be, if you haven't disputed something for 35 years, then it becomes some sort of agreement between the two, to put it simply. So the court will have to decide this. So the court will have to decide, do we delimit the boundary on the basis of the Somalian claim that we should just apply the relevant provisions of the law and the relevant tests that we have developed, or do we accept the Kenyan position that some sort of tacit agreement has been forged between the two states because of the long non-protest over the boundary running another course? Okay,
thank you for explaining it for us, Antonios Tzanakopoulos there, Associate Professor of International Law at the University of Oxford.